I don't know if you remember 2007, India lost in West Indies. They went in the first round.
Yeah.
And before the Indian team even landed, someone went to Dhoni, who was the captain that time, house and started vandalizing.
Security was increased outside Mahendra Singh Dhoni's house in Ranchi, which is under construction. The house had been attacked last week.
That was a big turning point.
For the social media, actually, one of the differences in the technology itself is it gives you direct access to channel your anger, or channel whatever emotions you have.
And we have gotten really far where we are face to face with, the sports people, and it's not their fault. But we are angry.
This was in the 2000s. There were people who did studies exactly like this. They looked at what would happen if people took out their anger on a punching bag. Do their anger levels decrease after that, or do their aggression levels decrease after that? And the answer to both are no.
Oh, I was going to say yes.
No.
Yeah, so I want to know more as a media theorist, like why would they feel the need to fan more fan anger?
Attack-minded coach for what?
Your BP
I know,
goes.
there's a camera moving.
Yeah.
Attack-minded coach. Sari ball it's him, Sari ball. You won't give him any plus.
Sari
You
ball.
won't give him money. Nothing.
Wow.
You give him plus and you expect them to play
This
Sari
is.
ball.
There's a lot of anger here.
So, today we are going to be talking about fan anger. It's something that we got very used to because, fans keep yo-yoing with the emotions. So, on December, Indian cricket fans were very angry about how we lost to Australia in a very closely fought test series. In February, Indian fans were so happy because we won the Champions Trophy. Go back 2 years ago and Indian fans were so angry we lost the World Cup. A few months later, Indian fans are so happy we won the World Cup. So there's so much yo-yoing of emotion. I thought I'd ask you, Kailash and Arvind, is there a reason for so much fan anger? And was it always like this? I mean, I was thinking back, what's the first memory for me was the India-Sri Lanka World Cup semi-finals in 1996 at Eden Gardens. And, as a kid, you were heartbroken because you're losing. But at some point, where India starts collapsing, the crowd just starts throwing anything they get their hands on, and we just don't stop. And at some point, you have the Indian captain Azharuddin, Vinod Kambli was batting, walking around, just putting his hands together and saying, please let us play. And the audience just didn't let them play. Like the anger just boiled over so much.
Yeah, I mean, do you remember when the fan or the obsessed fan just jumped out and literally stabbed Monica Seles?
Yeah.
That was like, I don't know if it was obsession turning into anger or whatever, but that was a really traumatic moment for Monica Seles herself.
Yeah.
So,
But these were fewer moments, right? Like it wasn't like we would hear of them, but they were like not like a regular occurrence.
no, I mean, it wasn't regular occurrence, but it did occur on the field within the stadium. So there was something which was so emotional that it took it to anger.
And it was immediate.
Yeah.
You've paid and come and watched it.
Yeah,
so
you've paid.
then people, it's like a bit of a mob, right? Everyone around you is getting angry. So
There's like mass hysteria there, right? Where you're shouting. I mean, we all in a stadium, half of us go there so that we can shout and cheer, and we're part of that community as such. So when this anger also comes up, I think that spreads. But what surprises me is this guy who is shouting when the video we watched, he was not in a stadium, he was at his home, right? It also talks about what can or could have pushed him to that much of anger. You watched on TV. Now, on television X, apart from the fact that your player did not do what he wanted, I honestly feel that there has been a change of the way commentary goes. Right?
I mean, because TV, what can you do? You can just change the channel, right?
You can change the channel.
Nobody around you, so that kind of feeling.
I remember changing channels also. Yeah, I mean, like that match particularly, like that it's a foregone conclusion, you just change it.
You change the channel. It's like leaving the stadium, right? But I also feel, the way commentary developed, right? Commentary came into sports because it was radio. You had to tell people what was happening. Once television came, they're already seeing. You don't need to tell people that somebody is taking the ball like this or somebody is bowling like this. So, but you still have to talk. Now, because of that shift, commentators have a lot of free time. People like Sunil Gavaskar, who recently blurted out nonsense on commenting, right?
When they needed a partnership. Stupid, stupid, stupid.
Yeah, like commentators actually used to have like a more nuanced view. So you're watching the match, but they are adding layers to it. Like you call the little master, the cover drive, this, that. So the technical terminology is coming in. So I remember commentary doing that, but now it's changed. Somehow now it's more about emotion.
So one of the things about sports on television that I found is that there are, unlike in the stadium, everyone's in the stadium, right? It's sort of built up. Everyone will come out of Eden ardently angry.
Yeah.
Now, what Chelsea has lost, there are maybe a million people around the world in different places reacting angry. Just think of the distribution of the anger.
Yeah.
And the impact of it. So, one of the examples I immediately thought was, I don't know if you remember in 2007, India lost in West Indies. They went in the first round.
Yeah.
And before the Indian team even landed, someone went to Dhoni, who was the captain that time, house, and started vandalizing.
Security had been increased after the match. Security was increased outside Mahendra Singh Dhoni's house in Ranchi, which is under construction. The house had been attacked last week.
That was a big turning point. I remember being totally aghast by
Is
it.
it unsafe to play professional crowds?
I also wondered, how did they find Dhoni's address so easily? This was not the time where you had Google, right? Where you couldn't say, hey, Dhoni's address. Google Maps would lead you. No. But they somehow found, right? And that kind of personal attack almost, in front of your house has also shifted and come around in social media, which we saw in the video.
And I was just thinking quickly of the analogy you made that, where would you get the information from Dhoni? Now you know all the sports stars on social media.
Yeah.
So you have an easy target.
You actually can personally go be angry at that one person on their DMs and,
Not just that person, like you will have, now we have many examples of that. Wives, family, Virat Kohli being a prime example.
Right.
It's like...
Yeah, actually, that's a good example. So social media, actually, one of the differences in a technology itself is it gives you direct access to channel your anger or channel whatever emotions you have.
And then you also feel that somehow, I don't know if this person who is expressing anger was expressing it to a certain manager or a person, but social media allows you to do that. And I think social media also fans a bit of fan anger.
Yeah.
Fans a bit of fan anger. Note that. Yeah.
But so I want to know more as a media theorist, like why would they feel the need to fan more?
So one thing in general is because of the way these algorithms are designed, they require engagement, constant engagement. So the more people use, it is better, right? Because that's how they make money. Now, one way of getting people to be more active and more reactive is to incite any kind of anger, because that is one of the emotions where we will react as soon as possible. So the more bizarre, the more extreme. It keeps getting more.
So it's almost like you don't even know if the person wants to be angry, but it's like anger is their way they're presenting sports. I was just quickly want to bring the example. My memory was, so me and Arvind, the Arsenal fans, and Arsenal has a very, maybe a very sad history. For every time it's a checkered history.
Wow.
And easy to, pile on them. And, in 2013-14, there was these two fans, Arsenal fans, in the stadium. After the match, they would take a camera and a mic and go around and ask fans how they felt. And very famously, some fans just abused the player. In that time, that was, no media would do that. Because not social media went up and it became so much views that at some point people were saying that more people are watching this than might be watching the match.
That's really...
That's how and this person doesn't have any distribution rights to the sport. Right. They get more views and more income from presenting like that. Someone in the match might be presenting.
And even look at the way how anger has gone from something which you were angry about to you're angry at the TV. Now you're angry at the actual person through social media. And with all this information, you land up at Dhoni's house, right? So we have gotten really far where we are face to face with, the sports people. And it's not their fault, but we are angry.
Let's hear more about this from an expert. Hi, I'm talking to Ryan today. Ryan is a psychology faculty at Azim Premji University and his research focuses on neuroscience. So, I really want to talk to you because you're someone who feels as a fan, but who's a neuroscientist. So, is able to look at, how people think, how people have emotions, how they process things. And I thought you would be the right person to give us a perspective on, what's going on in the fan's mind. Like a notion of, what's a healthy form of anger and unhealthy form of anger.
So anger is basically something that is provoked, right? So typically it is activated when you are in some sort of provoking situations. And these situations could be, say, a situation in which you are feeling some sort of unfair treatment, right? Or something that is aversive is happening towards you, right? These are moments when you would feel angry, but the anger concept itself or the construct itself could be thought in three parts. One is the arousal concept, right? In the sense what is happening bodily. These are autonomous reactions, right? So you'll see that your heart rate is increasing, things like that. The other thing that you could think of is what's happening cognitively, right? So because say for example, you're angry at some person, every time that person comes in your vicinity, you will have some sort of threatening or some sort of response towards that person in terms of the thoughts.
Is that what you call a trigger?
The trigger happens and then there are some cognitive things that happens, right? So the thoughts themselves. The trigger happens to everything, right? The trigger happens to the arousal aspect, happens to the cognitive aspect. And the third thing is the bodily responses, right? Or the displays that we show. So things like clenching of jaws, right? Things like hitting something or throwing things, which are very common in the sports world, right? So
those it could be like you send out a tweet or, you're sending, like you're in the stadium and you're shouting.
The second thing that I wanted to mention is the idea of identification, right? So now people are starting to identify more with a sports team, right? To the extent that if anything happens in the sports team or some players in the sports team do not act the way you would like it, the anger is actually as if something has happened against you. So the kind of identification that you have with the sports team is actually almost personal in some aspect, right? And I think like putting these two things together, the different components of anger and the identification aspect, I think you get some sort of picture why you actually do feel or experience these emotions, right? This is one thing. And then the second part of your question, which was about is there a healthy way or an unhealthy way to deal with anger. So this is one area where there's a lot of differences of opinion, right? One opinion is the whole catharsis angle, in which people feel that if
can you just, for our viewers, tell us what catharsis is?
Sure, definitely. The idea that rather than taking out the anger at someone you love or someone around you, you rather take out the anger at an object, for example. So the whole idea that you think about whom you're angry about, and in this context, think about that misplaced pass, and rather than taking it out on someone, you just punch that bag, right? So the thought was that by releasing anger in this way, it is some sort of a healthy release and it won't affect you in other parts or other areas of your life, right? That was the thought. But current literature and some things, and not current, like this is in the 2000s, there were people who did studies exactly like this. They looked at what would happen if people took out their anger on a punching bag. Do their anger levels decrease after that, or do their aggression levels decrease after that? And the answer to both are no.
I was going to say yes.
No. So I mean, that's why this whole idea of catharsis is also something which people are studying. Now people are saying that maybe directing it towards a goal versus distracting, maybe those are different, better strategies about releasing anger.
So I remember, in a previous conversation, you were talking to me about the study done in Portugal. Can you tell a bit more? Because I thought it was a good way of understanding how fan anger, why do fans feel so much anger and why it's projected in, what looks from outside like such a like too much anger.
So this study was essentially with football fans, right? So they were football fans in Portugal. They chose two teams, one which had a stronger brand value, the other one did not have as strong a brand value. And what they were interested in seeing was what is the brain activity as measured by an fMRI in connection to their feeling of identification with the team. So this specific experiment, what they were doing was they were shown four different types of videos, and they were asked to rate them as positive, negative, or neutral. These videos were like specific to the individual, right? So if a person is a fan of a particular team, they were shown positive videos of that. So goals being scored for that particular team, that would be a positive one. A negative would be the rival scoring, right? Or the rival scoring against you. And the neutral one would be, in this case, an Italian Serie B team, right? So that's the way in which they classified these kinds of videos. And correspondingly, they looked at what was happening in the brain activity corresponding to this, right? And the way they kind of did the study was to see if there's a difference between people who have strong identification scores versus weak identification scores. Would you like to know what the identification scores are? Would you like to run a quick?
Yeah, sure. I'm a feeling you want to turn me into a guinea pig, but yeah, I'm all for it.
All right. I have a set of questions for you. If you could rate them between 1 to 5 or 0 to 5. So how important is it to you that the Arsenal team wins?
5 out of 5.
Okay, how strong do you see yourself as an Arsenal fan?
5 out of 5.
How strongly do your friends see you as an Arsenal fan?
5 out of 5.
During the season, how closely do you follow the team via any medium?
Every match.
Okay, 5 out of 5 again. How important is it to you to be a fan of Arsenal?
So my relationship has been complicated with Arsenal.
Okay.
But I still think that, it would maybe a 4 out of 5.
Okay, not bad. How much do you dislike Arsenal rivals?
Oh, it's an interesting question because actually, I don't so much.
Okay.
And I think that's because I'm not based in there. So maybe that would be a 3.
Okay, 3. And how often do you display insignia or names in your workplace or where you live or on your clothing?
So my coffee mug is Arsenal, my mouse pad is Arsenal. Whenever there's not an Arsenal match, I wear an Arsenal jersey because I have this thing where it's bad luck if I wear the jersey during the match.
Okay, so if you were in that study, the Portugal study that we talked about, you would be most probably classified as those who have a high identification score with the team. Yeah. And if the team in that case was Arsenal, right? So such individuals, what would happen is that they would show much more activity in 2 particular regions in the brain, more in the frontal regions in the brain and the temporal regions in the brain. And these parts of the brain are thought to be part of certain networks, right? And 2 networks, for the sake of explaining this, might be useful. One is the network which is thought of to be as a default mode network. That's a network which, when you're ruminating or thinking things, these regions get activated. So the temporal regions and the frontal regions seem to be part of that process. As far as the self-regulation thing, right? So that's a good thing actually, right? So when we think in terms of anger, I talked to you about those 3 types of responses, right? The one is the arousal responses, the cognitive responses, and the display responses. The idea is that before we get into this explosive anger, our body self-regulates, right? So cognitively this happens. So we kind of say that, okay, this is not a really big situation. We do not need to worry about this. And this takes a few seconds. But sometimes this higher level cognitive engagement does not happen, right? And that's where the self-regulation happens, right? So if the self-regulation does not happen, what would potentially happen is that you burst out into anger.
Okay. So we were talking before healthy and unhealthy forms. So if the self-regulation doesn't happen, there's a higher chance of unhealthy form of anger.
Yeah, unhealthy form of anger. Like I feel like as long as you are able to control it internally and not
have tangible effects outside and outside world.
Yeah, because it's just part of who we are as people, right? Because anger has an important role to play also. It's not that it's only a negative emotion per se, right? So I think the conversation we had a few minutes ago about sports players who are able to score or make better decisions in the sport after something.
That means the regulatory mind is functioning better, that they can sort of not let the anger affect their actions.
Correct. So they're able to direct
not to
it.
The extent that they can't execute.
At least they're able to direct it towards a particular goal. And in that sense, goal-directed anger seems to be some sort of a positive kind of framework that you could think of, rather than lashing it out on anyone else, right?
So viewers, you can find the link to measure how much of a sports fan or how passionate you are below. Please write in what was your score and which are the clubs or players you support. So thanks for coming in today, Ryan.
Rahul,
I really enjoyed the conversation and we will want Ryan to come more for future episodes. Now let's go back to the studio.
But there's much more to this, right? Especially when you're looking at social media. Now there are fans who are making money off their reactions on social media as well, right? So, and like you said, the algorithm is built for anger. So if you show anger, then you will get more likes, more views. So people are actually waiting to capitalize on that.
So sometimes I used to feel like people would want our team to lose, so you can get more views on your.
I don't know.
No, I don't think that is. This is. I'm big sports viewers. I'm pretty sure I want to get angry and I want to shout at the TV. There is something cathartic to it. I don't know about you guys. I would.
No, I mean,
love to shout at the TV.
No, one idea I want to put is, I understand you saying, right? Fan anger is, they've invested so much. But I think the question also is that what is the consequence of fan anger? We know that because of social media, there's a lot of trolling that happens with players, which significantly affects them. So I remember how a couple of years ago, Naomi Osaka pulled out of a tournament because this all the backlash affected her. And there are many examples of people pulling out.
and the usual comment for that is that they are getting paid this much. So this is a part of what you get.
From the fan side, imagine I'm a fan of Arsenal. I have had a really long day. My boss was, as usual, being my boss and ruined my day. I come back. The least I can get is my team winning.
Yeah.
And they don't. So the frustration of my boss, the frustration of Bangalore traffic, the frustration of the fact that
There are no roads.
there are no roads. I need an outlet, and Arsenal not performing might be one of the ways I can.
It definitely creeps in. I mean,
Yeah.
I'll be honest, it does. But I won't go and troll some player for it.
The direction certainly can be changed, and the intensity may be.
Okay.
But I think fan anger is going to stay.
Okay, so Kailash is so Fana is going to stay. What about you?
I think like a measured, I mean, that sounds a little weird, but yeah, anger, but like not at other people, not making it like about individuals maybe. I seriously feel that emotions are natural. And yeah, they are natural and you should be able to express yourself. But how much is where I sort of maybe differ from people.
So viewers, what do you think? Do you think fans are justified in feeling anger? Has there ever been one match which has made you feel very angry? Please write and comment below. And we'll see you again soon.
Don't forget to subscribe now.
Have you ever thought why you're angry, especially when your favorite sport team is playing? A2, give us what you have.
This is definitely an angry fan. The eye socket seems like very short vision, couldn't really look too far. And the molars are very grinding, like a lot of teeth grinding has happened. So very frustrated person for sure.
If you want to know why you get angry during sports, join us on our episode on fan anger for game, play and sport.